Thank you so much for being such a great audience. I've seen you listen intently to all these sessions and for all the speakers. I've actually learned a lot today. I consider myself as a student of CSR rather than an expert of CSR. So bear with me as I share my thoughts. After listening to the inaugural session, I think it opened my eyes to some extent. I went back and I looked at the usual presentation that we do, and what's the story that we are trying to tell as Amazon or as AWS. So just wanted to share some of my findings with you. Hope it resonates. So the first thing that I did was I looked at our mission, right? So just to explain to you, Amazon, we all know, Amazon Web Services or AWS is the cloud service provider that's well known. Worldwide public sector is a vertical within AWS. It's the only vertical within AWS. Unlike most of the other technology companies where you have 7 or 10 or 11 verticals, we only have one vertical, which is worldwide public sector. Everything else is commercial. And one of the reasons that my leaders told me why this is because of the objectives of the customers that we serve, which is government, education, non-profits within worldwide public sector. Because their focus is social responsibility. Their focus is creating citizen impact, student impact, different from the usual commercial startups, enterprises, and so on. So the mission that we read about on a regular basis within Amazon, within AWS, is right there behind you. And I'll try and unpack this vision or this mission into 3 strategic priorities that we work on a daily basis and how that impacts our customers. So the lens to look at this content is not so much in terms of what CSR activities Amazon does. I'm not the right representative to sort of talk about that. But going back to what we heard during the inaugural session, the 3 theaters and the Harvard professors' concept on CSR. I won't focus on philanthropy that much, but primarily on how to innovate or transform business models to support a socially responsible business, and how to create operational efficiencies, which will then translate into, again, a socially responsible business, right? So the first step is in reinventing the technology experience for our customers. Again, these are governments across the globe, educational institutions. Some of them are represented in this room. And just a few slides on what that means, right? So if you look at again Amazon and AWS, Amazon is all about getting those products that you order online most efficiently to you as the consumer or as the user. AWS is the data centers, the technology that Amazon and many other customers, we treat Amazon as one of our complex and difficult customers. Well, complex, I would say, not difficult. And they do make us ensure that we deliver our best to them. But what also happens is a lot of the innovation that happens behind the scenes or in front of your eyes when you're using Amazon as a business, as a consumer, a lot of that innovation and the engineering and the science behind it actually makes its way into Amazon Web Services as one of those services that any government institution, educational institution can use to build their own applications and IT. So one such innovation is robotic technology. The orange boxes that you see, just below the aisles, this is a fulfillment center. Those are products that you may have ordered. You don't see any people running around figuring out where that product is on which shelf. Instead, there are these robots which run around and they get to the point of distribution. Um, and there's computer vision at play, there's robotics technology at play, which somehow magically figures out exactly what product was ordered and get it to the point of distribution. Now, the reason I brought that up was, think about this technology. It's fairly complex technology. Think about this science and this engineering in the hands of students of today and future, right? So these two devices, one of them you can literally lift in the palm of your hands. It's called Deep Lens. It's got a high definition camera on top, and the white base is actually a full-blown Ubuntu Linux computer. So you can attach a keyboard, a mouse, and a screen to it. But what's interesting about this is, if you untether it or disconnect it from the internet, put it in a remote village somewhere, or let's say a common service center, it can become a computer vision device for any kind of application. So you can do poll booth monitoring, you can count the footfall within a common service center, all using computer vision, and you can deploy machine learning models within this small device. What's the beauty of this? It's available for a few thousand rupees for any student across the world if they want to play around with computer vision and the sort of best algorithms that are out there, which are normally accessible to corporates with huge budgets, but it's available literally out of the box for students. Similarly, the car on the other side, we've heard about autonomous driving. That's the future. If you think about the next big transformation that's going to happen in our society, transportation is pretty close, right? Hyperloop, autonomous car driving, and so on. The next generation skills that are needed to deliver this technology needs to have practical experience around this technology. How do you get that experience across to these students? How do you get faculty trained on such technologies so that they're able to teach students? Again, Deep Racer is the innovation that's come out of AWS. You can literally, it's again a few thousand rupees, and you can teach it to self-drive using machine learning models. But we don't just stick to learning labs and equipment for students. We also help transform industries, right? Here's just one example. The entire Formula One sport is undergoing a transformation thanks to AWS technologies. The same technologies that are accessible to nonprofits, which are transforming the sport by using machine learning to not just improve the driver's performance, but also the engine, the car, the wheels, and so on. So what does this mean for one of our customers? So I talked about common service centers. They provide hundreds of e-services to remote villages, and delivery of these e-services is very important. And they also create other value-added services around this. Obviously, they would want to do it at the lowest cost. They would want to do it in a sustainable way, and they would want to do it at scale. 250,000 gram panchayats across centers across India, as far as my data goes, and they run on AWS Cloud to achieve that. And just wait for a moment to think about this, right? So how does this impact our customers or sustainability for that matter? I mentioned that word. So AWS globally has millions of active customers monthly, millions, right? In India alone, we have hundreds of thousands of customers. So if you're watching Hotstar, you're watching that India-Pakistan match, and you see that number on the right corner top going 25 million viewers, right? It's thanks to the fact that it's running on AWS. But what's more interesting is that Hotstar, because they decided to run their very large application on AWS, they didn't have to invest in a data center. A data center is very power hungry. It creates a huge carbon footprint, right? And more so because running your own data center, if that's not your core business, can be very inefficient. You'll have to, prepare for that extra capacity for one day when India will play Pakistan in a year or in 6 months. I need to plan for 25 million viewers, but most of the days I'll probably get 3 million, right? So all that server capacity, hardware capacity goes for a waste for most of the year. With AWS, they don't need to worry about that. So AWS can scale up or down depending on the requirements of the customers, uh, every second, every hour of the day, every day of the year for millions of active customers monthly. So that's saving right off the block. We don't stop there. AWS, for all of its data centers and global infrastructure across the globe, has a target of going 100% renewable. Okay, by 2018, we've already achieved 50%, and that's a big deal. So we built our own wind farms and so on, and solar farms and so on. So if you're able to achieve 100% renewable on AWS Cloud, which is one of the largest cloud service providers out there, if not the largest, and millions of customers are saving cost, money, and scaling on that cloud, that's sustainability for you. But then, let's talk about transforming business models. How do you deliver citizen impact at scale? So this is not just AWS. This is the services being used by AWS customers, governments, public institutions. How do you create citizen impact at scale? I just wanted to show two examples, very diverse examples. One is we have a lot of talk about rocket ships being built by Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, Blue Origin, Elon Musk, SpaceX, and rockets going up and coming down, renewable rockets and space travel. So there's a lot of energy around space travel all over again. There was Mars mission, a lot of research that went on in there. So whether you think about it from in terms of Earth becoming, spacefaring, us going to Mars or us going to Moon, or you think about it from a learning and research perspective, it takes a lot of data, a lot of computation to process data that comes from space. So AWS has services. In fact, we've recently launched a service called Ground Station as a service, what you see towards the right. It's actually the ground station which communicates with the satellite, so you can actually change the view of the satellite or control the data that flows, easily accessible to our customers. So imagine the implications for a research institution which wants to do research but doesn't have the access to that ground station throughout the year. Coming back to Earth, we have some of the largest open data sets for planetary scale applications. So whether you're doing a disaster management application or whether you're writing an application to follow forest fires for rapid response, the base data sets that you need, high quality satellite imagery, very timely satellite imagery across multiple spectrums, that runs into gigabytes if not terabytes of data. We host all of that for free. So more than 10 petabytes of data, open data, satellite imagery, OpenStreetMaps, genomics related data, available to research institutions, government agencies, commercial entities across the globe for free. So if you're a data provider, if you're a government agency or an academic institution, and if you would like to publish open data, talk to me, talk to one of my colleagues. We'll be happy to host it for free so that others can benefit from it. And this is one such example. So Ministry of Urban Affairs is actually launching a very innovative project called Urban Observatory, where all of these smart cities across India, they're going to be feeding data into this centralized observatory, where amongst other things, they could take policy decisions or monitor the progress of smart cities across India. It's a very diverse country, getting all this data in across multiple partners, and the ministry has chosen AWS as a key partner for integrating all of this. Finally, I'll talk about a topic very close to my heart, which is creating our future workforce. And by the way, these are strategic priorities that AWS Worldwide Public Sector team in India thinks about, works on every day in, day out with our customers. They're not just writing posters on the wall. So Just a quick, I'll probably extend my talk by about a couple of minutes. This is PwC study on 8 future skills. So I've already talked about robotics, drones, maybe not drones, but AI, ML, of course. All of these skills, if you want students to learn about these skills, if you want to enable faculty on these skills, if you want government institutions to leverage these technologies, are available on AWS Cloud as of today. This is how some of the educational institutions are benefiting from research grants to improving the operational efficiency. There's a university in Australia which runs machine learning and analytics to figure out, it's a very large campus, that when students' population is highest in a certain area, so that they can reroute the buses and the transport to that area, and when to reduce the lighting of, let's say, the library if it's not so much in use to conserve electricity. We've all seen Alexa, but what may not be aware of is Alexa is actually available in a number of universities across the dorm in every student's room as a virtual teacher, amongst other things. And talking about virtual, AWS also has a content authoring tool which can be used to create augmented reality, virtual reality applications. So imagine someone who has learning disabilities or someone who has not learned to read or write, using virtual reality goggles to learn how to repair a motorcycle or a car. All that is possible. There's just one service that you need to activate, build content on it, and it will be available, that content will be available on multiple devices. So NSDC runs on AWS. I won't go into details. Educate is a very important program, bringing all of these 8 areas that I spoke about and 4 more into learning pathways. So there's digital content we make available for free for students. There are cloud credits, so all of those cloud services I talked about that students can access up to a certain limit for free without having to use a credit card. And Educate program also comes integrated with a job board. And I think if you just have a quick look at some of these programs out there, they're fairly futuristic. And not just access to learning content, but also labs which students can try out. And these are same services which are in use in production across the globe by millions of our customers. AWS certification is by far one of the most sought after certifications on the planet as far as IT is concerned. And of course, our partnership with ICT Academy. Thank you so much once again for honoring us today as one of your top partners. We're doing a whole bunch of good stuff. I really loved creating this slide from a snapshot. Voice of customer is very important for us, and voice of customer is even more important for us. So your students are your customers. So some very innocent but very revealing comments. I'll be happy to share these slides later on. These comments are not very readable from here. And like AWS and Amazon is about scale, what I'm very proud to see is our partner ICT Academy is all about scale. And that's where globally, if you see some of our partnerships with nonprofits, educational institutions, you name it, we have partnerships with them. They're all about scale and impact. I think someone did mention that if the larger, I may not be quoting exact words, but the larger you are as a business, the more impact you need to create in the world. So education is built on AWS, and gradually India public sector is also being built on AWS. So hopefully we'll continue to make an impact because in India we are at the epicenter of the biggest technology shift of our lifetime, and we should all be very proud to be part of that technology shift. Thank you so much.